was a woman in the World War II era whose name was Corrie and she and her family worked hard to rescue Jews from concentration camps. The Nazis took 6 million Jews and put them in concentration camps and exterminated them. But Corrie and her family said, not on our watch. And they rescued Jews and they led them to freedom until they were caught. And she and her sister and her father were sent off to concentration camps where she would lose her sister and her father, both of whom died. And yet she refused to give into a heart of bitterness. And on the other side, the love of God so penetrated her heart that she realized that God had called her to speak on forgiveness, even to the Nazi prison guards. And so she went on speaking tours after she was freed in World War II to help people all over Europe heal from the bitterness and resentment that the war had caused. And as she was speaking one night, the unexpected happened. She saw one of her prison guards in the back. And as she saw him, he started making his way forward. And this is what happened. The guard came up to her and said, "You mentioned Ravensbrück in your talk," he was saying. I was a guard there. Since that time, I've become a Christian. I know that God has forgiven me for the cruel things that I did there, but I'd like to hear it from your lips as well. Fräulein. And he held his hand out to me. Will you forgive me? And this woman, Corrie, says, and I stood there, I whose sins had again and again been forgiven by God, and I couldn't forgive. My sister had died in that place. Could he erase her slow, terrible death simply by asking? She said it could not have been many seconds that he stood there, hand held out to me, but to me it seemed like hours as I wrestled with the most difficult thing I ever had to do, but I knew I had to do it. Because the message that God forgives is a prior condition, that we forgive those who've injured us. If you don't forgive men their trespasses, Jesus said, neither will your Father in heaven forgive yours. I knew it not only as a commandment, she said, but as a daily experience, because since the end of the war, I had come home to Holland for victims of Nazi brutality, and those who were able to forgive their former enemies were also able to return to the outside world and rebuild their lives. But also, those who nursed the bitterness remained invalids. It was as simple and as horrible as that. And so I stood there with the coldness clutching my heart. But forgiveness is not an emotion, and I knew that too. Forgiveness is an act of the will, and the will can function regardless of the temperature of the heart. Help. I prayed silently. God, I can lift my hand. I can do that much. You supply the feeling. And so woodenly, mechanically, I thrust my hand into the one outstretched to me, and as I did, an incredible thing took place. The current started in my shoulder. It raced down my arm and sprang into our joined hands. And then this healing warmth seemed to flood my whole being, bringing tears to my eyes. I forgive you, brother, with all of my heart. And for a long moment, we grasped each other's hands, the former guard and the former prisoner. I had never known God's love so intensely as I did that.